Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another round of sound. This is the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. I'm Bob Pompeani. Before we do anything else, congratulations, Jim Leland, now member of the Baseball Hall of Fame. So we want to give him a shout out there. We got a lot to get into. We're going to talk about the college football playoff, Florida State getting job. What about some other teams? Did they get it right? But the #1 topic tonight, right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown, will be a Steeler implosion in the regular season against a team that had just 2 wins. Here to discuss is your panel. We have Jeff Hatthorn, sports director at 93.7 The Fan. In the middle, the man in the middle, it's Mark Kaboly from The Athletic, and Chris Adamski from Pittsburgh Tribune Review, Trib Live. All right, let's get right into this one. Mark, I'm going to start with you. Why did this happen today? Jaylen Warren said afterwards he thought they took them lightly, and a lot of other players didn't say that. Why did this happen to a team that was 2-10?
There is no excuse. I mean, it's just embarrassing all around. And trying to come up with a reason of why. We know how they lost because of turnovers and everything else, you know, the bad penalties. But why did they lose? And I hate to take the low-hanging fruit, guys.
Uh-oh.
But I don't like to blame.
They miss Canada.
No, I don't like to blame the head coach for not having them prepared. But my goodness, did they look like they weren't prepared today, and that has to go to the top of the heap there. They just weren't prepared at all. I don't think they're a mentally strong bunch. They can't overcome stuff that, like the penalties and the stuff that goes against them there. I think that comes with age, and I think that's where Tomlin failed at today. And I blame him 100%. And I don't like to do that, but I will.
I mean, if you look at it, I mean, you had penalties that were sort of, pre-snap type penalties, alignment type penalties, 3 special teams penalties on their special teams captain. At one point, I mean, there were just breakdowns up and down. You feel like offensively, there were the failures in stopping the running game, the failures in allowing big plays, the failures allowing plays on the weighty downs, on third downs. There was just up and down. There's just so many things, and I guess that's the recipe for a loss to a 2-9 team, and when you're trying to unleash hell in December.
So when a lot of us will get asked about how they look in practice, I don't know about you guys. They look the same. They look the same every week. It's the same type of mojo, same type of energy. But the result just wasn't there. Like they weren't locked in like they should have. And yeah, I agree that it's mostly on Tomlin, but these are pro athletes that are getting paid a lot of money. Like, take it upon yourself to make sure that you're ready, that those details aren't missed in this game.
They weren't able to overcome a couple big things. You know, they had the first drive that looked very good. They were settled for 3.
But it stalled again.
They settled for 3. Then when they got down to the 1-yard line, then after that, it was like, my goodness, we failed again. Let's just totally give up. And that's when the 99-yard went the other way, and they were just done there. And I just think it has to – I mean, if I'm going to go away from Tomlin, and I just say it's youth and it's some inexperience maybe of just not knowing how to overcome that. But, we're all human. We all do this. We all look at teams that are 2-10 and say, win. They did the same thing.
They must have done the same thing.
It's as simple as that. They did the same thing.
Chris, Mark mentioned that 4th and goal situation. I have no problem going for it. I don't know if I like that play. Did you like that play? If you're going to do it, why not? Until they outlaw the tush push the tush.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, you have a quarterback coming in. I'm sure everything about that, it's sort of, it's a fire drill situation. You have a quarterback that's coming in. Do you really want to have him throwing on that situation or have him you're sneaking a quarterback and you just got a quarterback hurt sneaking. You go down to your 3rd quarterback. I don't know. I can see why they did it. I mean, your Najee Harris is still your 1st-round pick. You're for a couple years ago, your workhorse running back. You were supposed to get that yard. I mean, I get what you're saying, Bob, and I might, have too, but at the same time, they should have executed and got the end.
They were doing the push on the line too. I mean, I would have ran the same play. I mean, if you can't get 1 yard, you don't deserve it. I sound like Bill Cowher in '95, but whatever.
But you also trust your defense at that point. You have them at the 1-yard line. Next thing you know, they go 99 yards on 4 third-down conversions.
And Bob, Dan Moore said it after the game, like, we need to get 1 yard there. We need to get that push. We need to push guys off the line of scrimmage, and that's on them. I mean, listen, you have a team that only has 2 wins. They might be looking for an opportunity to check out if you get an early lead. And that's probably what they're thinking. Like, hey, let's get up on them. Let's get that ball in the end zone. Let's build some momentum. Maybe they'll start doubting themselves, and it turned out to be the other way. They went 99 yards, and the Steelers.
Their best offensive player quit 3 days ago.
That's what I mean.
He just quit.
Zach Ertz said, I don't want to be part of this anymore.
I mean, it's just crazy to be able to lose to a team that people are just freely quitting.
Yeah, I mean, it was just one of those things. Now, I know there were injuries in this Chris, I mean, it's significant injuries, potentially, it looks like. Pickett, who knows?
Big players, at least.
But when you have your entire, Landon Roberts goes out, all right? So that's another linebacker. You got Michael Walker in there. Now, if the standard is a standard and the next man up is true, then those guys have got to do better than they did.
Yeah, and I don't know, you can't even really scheme. You don't have much time to scheme around it for your next game. It's 4 days from now. And normally you'd say, well, it's only the Patriots and their offense is terrible. But we saw what happened today. I mean, I think New England's – I want to see the over-under for this Steelers-Patriots game, by the way. It might be 10 because I don't know if either team could score. Both defenses are really good. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know what you do now. I mean, you're down 3 inside linebackers potentially, it looks like. Sam Malu was probably your best offensive lineman, I would say, throughout the season.
Minka broke his hand or something?
Minka, I would think he's going to play. He played the rest of this game, but he's still one of your best players. Yeah, T.J. Watt, I mean, it really was a disaster all the way up and down the board today.
So, Jeff, if Pickett is out, and I can't imagine him play. He was walking in a boot, so I don't know if he's going to play or not, but I doubt he'll play. And if he doesn't, what do you do? Do you go with Trubisky or do you try Rudolph?
Mitch is your backup quarterback. I mean, period. It hasn't even wavered. Like hasn't been any point in time where it's like, well, maybe it's going to be Mason. Mitch is the guy.
And now last year, this time of year, when it happened and Mitch came in and threw 3 interceptions in the second half, Tomlin was open about saying he'll have an open competition. Now, I don't know how much open competition that was leading to the Carolina game last year when Pickett was hurt. But this week you have a short week, and he didn't say that, and there's no reason really. You're right. Mitch Trubisky, I mean, why do you have – I don't know why do you have a depth chart, but why since beginning of spring – Mitch Trubisky's been the QB too. There's no reason to switch now, even though I'm sure Mark.
No, what's going to happen is, I mean, if it's down 14-0 at halftime, I think there's going to be a quick pull.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't think you're going to let him work through his issues when Mason's sitting on the sideline there. I mean, of course it's going to be Mitch, but in the back of my mind, I would love to see Mason.
You were talking about hitting the panic button. If you're about to lose twice in 5 days at home to the team in the AFC and NFC. Then you hit the panic button.
If you have a bad offensive couple first series, a couple picks, down 10-0, I'm going to Mason.
Yeah, we have a lot more to get into, including the next game against New England. They got shut out today behind Bailey Zappi, 6-0. What will this be? And, people thought the road was a good one. The path was available. Well, where is that path right now for the Steelers? We'll talk about that and later, college football playoff mess, another one. We'll talk about it right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. All right, welcome back. We're talking about the Steelers and their 24-10 loss today to Arizona, which puts them in a little bit of a conundrum here now. They're 7-5. Indy won. Houston won, so they're 7-5. They play Indy in a couple of weeks. But, Jeff, let's talk about next up. It's New England. You can say what you want. Their offense is terrible, but their defense still plays. And if the Steeler offense struggles, we may see another one of these very low-scoring games. I thought it would be the opposite. I thought today would be a good day, and they'd work toward 9-4. Which was available to them. What do you see on Thursday?
Remember when this was Tom Brady against Ben Roethlisberger and how much fun the matchups were, how much you anticipated, what you anticipated this matchup as opposed to Bailey Zappi against Mitch Trubisky probably. I expect a low-scoring game. I expect the defense, Steelers defense, to try to find a way to win it. I mean, yeah,
but who's available? That's the thing. Even Bailey Zappi may be able to throw against the middle of their field.
You had a luxury of middle linebackers. Now you have none of them. They're all gone. And here's here's a positive. Here's a chance for Mark Robinson to prove that he belongs in the NFL.
I don't think he did very well today, right? I think Patriots lost their running back too today, Ramondre Stevenson.
Yes, he did.
So that complicates the issue even more. But let me tell you, if this past game was a Tomlin game, lose to a team that they should beat, this is a Tomlin game coming up. Thursday game after a bad loss.
Injuries.
I would not be surprised if they whip him, to be honest with you. That's just how it works with Tomlin and the Steelers, and everybody will be back on the bandwagon again. But obviously there's a lot of work to do from there, and I'm worried about the inside linebackers as well. They just signed somebody from the practice. It's not like they could bring somebody in. It's 3 days. They practice on Tuesday, and they walk through on Wednesday, and they're done.
Blake Martinez and Miles
gets a chance.
Yeah, this was 2019. Blake Martinez and Miles Jack, good inside linebacker.
Right. Miles Jack, he'll be probably on the field.
They're going to have to bring either one of those two up. You're right. So that's good, at least in a short week.
All right, but look at it. Then they have Indianapolis. That all of a sudden, that Saturday game now, which, by the way, was, in case you missed it, 4:30 on Saturday. You'll see it on KDKA. So, Chris, that's going to be a huge game. And say what you want about Gardner Minshew, but he went down the field today and got a game-winning touchdown against Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. The Steelers aren't in position to say anything about anybody. You're calling for a blowout. I mean, I don't know what you define a blowout as. No, against New England I'm talking about.
Win by more than
Like
7
9-0.
Well, okay, well, that's
What is a blowout?
I mean, to get that, this offense has to score 20 points to win by 20. Yeah, they might shut the Patriots out. I wouldn't be shocked by that, but I don't know how many points. I mean, do we have anything on the resume so far to let you believe the Steelers offense all of a sudden going to go out there, whether it's Mitch Trubisky or Kenny Pickett, whoever it is, all of a sudden put up 4 touchdowns or something like that? That's not going to happen. So this is almost like the poor man's version of what the Steelers do to the good teams. The Patriots could keep it close in the fourth quarter and maybe Bailey Zappi makes a play to beat him. I don't know. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's probably not going to be a blowout.
Can we flex this game, Jeff?
Al Michaels is going to love this, I'm sure.
All right, when you look at it, though, a team like the Cleveland Browns, they're going to have to play Jacksonville. Their schedule's not easy, necessarily. Baltimore still has what they have. So when you look into your crystal ball for the remaining part of this, what is the most likely scenario for the Pittsburgh Steelers at the end of this year? Where will they be? In the playoffs?
You're asking
with the wild
after
card?
this game.
Yeah, I am, because it changes week to week, but I want to know where you are right now.
I mean, Friday morning you can wake up and say, okay, you're 8-5. You're feeling better. Cincinnati still doesn't have Burrow. Indianapolis, while they're, competitive, they're right with you. I mean, you got a chance to win that game. Seattle has some flaws, even though they've played well at times, and then you get a Baltimore game that you've had success against the Ravens. So
I still think they're going to be a wild card.
I do think they're going to have a winning record. Depending on who gets healthy,
Right.
and if they have their starting quarterback, then I'll tell you more after that.
I think the silver lining to this all is, first of all, they think the division's done. They're not going to catch Baltimore now. However, that might lead to a Week 18 Baltimore sitting some starters, which the Steelers need to get in to be able to get in here right now.
And they go back to Baltimore.
You're really
I
stretching
am
now.
taking it week to week, Bob. Forget it. Ask
looking
me
ahead to Week 18.
Thursday night where I'm at right now. I think they will be. What are they? 7-5 now.
Yep.
I think there will be 8-5. Then, depending on how they play,
Don't.
I'll make the decision after that. It's week to week.
If they
with
don't
this
win
team.
Thursday, though, a lot of things are on the table at that point, right? If they lose twice in 5 days, these two teams, I don't think they will. You're right. I think they'll win and they'll win comfortably. I believe that. But if they don't, you really
All
got
right,
to.
real quick question for you, and I want you to go back. Didn't ask you this in advance to think about it, but you've seen some bad Mike Tomlin losses in terms of postseason. But I'm going to eliminate postseason. I want to talk regular season. This one feels like one of the worst regular season losses. Does it to you?
Yes, absolutely. Given you're feeling good coming out of Cincinnati, you're facing a team that's struggling. You think this is going to be a 2-game, winning week. Yeah, I would agree with that.
There's a couple road Oakland games where you cringe.
The 90-yard Terrell Pryor one.
We're just
comes
talking
to
about
mind.
Heinz Field, Acrisure Stadium. You're looking 14 Buccaneers, Glennon. You're
Oh, that's
looking
right.
09, maybe Gradkowski, right?
Right?
That was
Other than that,
Oakland,
you're right there.
3 touchdowns in the
Right
fourth
there.
quarter.
That Thursday night game in Cleveland, when the wind chill was -6, that was the unleash hell in December. The Steelers were reigning Super Bowl champions. The Browns, you think Arizona's bad. The Browns were 1-11 that day. And I know it was cold and whatever else, the conditions were bad today too, relatively speaking. But to lose that game to that Cleveland team when you were the reigning Super Bowl champs, after Tomlin said they're going to rally the troops after a sort of a late season swoon.
Those are the
That
top
was not-
5, we're saying, right?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Tough
there are games
This
like
thing's
that.
a wrap.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's the hotly debated topic that is the college football playoff. And one team has a real legitimate gripe, I think. At least they're spouting off. We'll talk about it next, right here on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. You want controversy? Look no further than the college football playoff, where today they eliminated Florida State. The Seminoles, undefeated Power 5 conference champs, don't lose, and they don't get in. Mike Norvell, the head coach, called it disgusted. He said he's infuriated. It won't happen next year because they go to 12 teams. But, Jeff, I'm going to start with you. I know you think Ohio State should be in, but we're going to take them out
No,
of it.
I actually don't. I actually don't.
But the bottom line is here, this committee factored in the fact that Florida State is operating with a backup, if not third-string quarterback, and they knew that was not going to be what they were looking for in these kind of matchups. So instead, you're going to get Michigan, Alabama in the Rose Bowl, Washington, Texas in the Sugar Bowl. Are they right?
Because no team recently has won a national championship with a third-string quarterback, has it?
Cardell Jones, you're Ohio State Buckeyes.
Right.
I get it.
And it's an absolute.
Recently.
It's an absolute joke. Florida State got absolutely jobbed. It shows what a laughable committee that is in the NCAA. I mean, they had to bow down to the SEC. They are the best conference. Don't get me wrong, but they bowed down to the SEC because they're in bed with the SEC.
If they bowed down, they would have taken Georgia even with the loss.
worried about
They
the
dropped
pressure.
from 1 to 6.
Yeah, I mean,
Georgia's better than
Florida State was 4, right?
Georgia's better than Florida State. Would
Florida
you agree
State
with
was
that?
4.
Yeah, would you agree with that?
That Georgia's better than Florida State? But were they undefeated?
Okay. Mark, on to you.
I 1,000,000% agree with the committee. Alabama deserved to be in there. I mean, I know why you hate them, because they're Alabama and they win so much. I know why you hate them, because ACC Pitt fans, right, can't like that. The bottom line is Alabama went into Georgia, their home stadium. Well, darn close to their home stadium.
It's a neutral zone.
Darn close to
That's
their
as
home
much
stadium.
Alabama's home field as it is theirs.
It's in Georgia, for whatever.
Yeah, but Alabama plays every year.
And beat them. A team that hasn't lost in 29 games. You're going to hold them out because they lost to who? The second best team in the country. Forget it. Alabama deserves it. Florida State, terrible conference. They barely beat Pitt. Be honest with you, they barely beat Boston College, and they barely beat Clemson, and you want them to be in there with their third-string quarterback. Alabama deserved to be in there. Deserved it.
How much worse is the ACC than the Big 12?
Big 12 is very top-heavy. You got 3 of the top 10 teams.
Well, you beat Oklahoma State. 87 teams could beat Oklahoma State.
You want to see Florida State in there, and they lose.
Texas.
I don't have
Florida
any problem
State's
with
in there,
Alabama
and they're going to
making
lose
it.
50
Wait a minute, Chris, let's go.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with Alabama. I mean, I get what they did. I understand it. I might have even done it. But at the same time, it's like, why do we play football? Like, they play football games. Florida State won all their games, right? I don't know how you, but I've always had a soft spot, even for like the Cincinnatis, the UCFs of the world or whatever. Why are they playing? I mean, why do they play if they can't get it?
What happened to Cincinnati when they were in there?
You know, but you had 5 power conferences all this time and 4 berths. It's funny because next year there'll only be 4 power conferences and there'll be 12 berths. So it'll be totally. It took the very last year of this system for it actually come back to bite them.
But the committee, I will say this.
So you had to leave
Jeff,
somebody
you may
out.
not agree with this. The committee has preached that if you're going to play non-conference games, make them good ones. So Texas did that. They went to Tuscaloosa and they won. To me,
Florida State played LSU, right?
Florida State plays that. Yes.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Let me ask
Are
you
they?
something. No.
You schedule LSU. I don't know
think
how
not
far
going to
out.
Tuscaloosa,
A couple of years
they
ago,
shouldn't give them credit for it.
Did they schedule it when Joe Burrow won the national championship there? Then they scheduled them when they were national champions.
Hey, Pomp, who would you rather watch? Florida State, Michigan, or Alabama, Michigan?
Here's
Period.
There's
Stop.
no
Just
question.
stop right
And
there.
that's part of
I'm
their
done.
thinking.
if their
They want
rationale, you brought the point about Georgia. If their rationale was the backup quarterback thing, they ranked them 5th. Right? If your rationale was they're no good with, which they looked really bad on offense. I'll give them that. They looked terrible last night. That was we think watching the Steeler games is tough sometimes. The defense and the offense. A Florida State game last night. So I get it. So why 5th? If you're going to say they can't be anybody good without a quarterback, then they'd be 8th, 9th, 10th or whatever.
throwing them a bone.
Well, I know. So it's all
right.
farce.
Sounds like we have more to talk about. We may consider that, or we may go in another direction, but we have to take a break. Back with more right after this on the #1 Cochran Sports Showdown. As we continue this, Oregon has another. I've read, too, where they were complaining because they lost twice, but they lost twice to Washington in close games. So we're never going to get an ending to this other than next year goes to 12 teams. And I think that's best case scenario, don't you?
Yeah, they're going to be campus sites for the first round, right?
That's
going
smart.
to be awesome.
It makes money. It brings in
That's
another.
going to be incredible. I mean, look at some of the matchups there would be this year.
It might be
if they
a
would
snow
have 12
game
teams.
for a playoff game. That'd be cool.
Until they put it in a place where it shouldn't be. Why is it in Wisconsin and not in Rutgers, you know? All right, right? You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm just throwing it out there.
Penn State finished 10th. In this scenario, they would be in the playoff next year.
Right.
They're going to get Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl this year. I'll ask you about winning these games. Semifinals. So you have in the Rose Bowl, Chris Adamski, you have #1 Michigan, #4 Alabama. That to me is a much more enticing, I'm sorry, matchup than Florida State.
You're
I
right.
agree with Mark. Who do you like?
You know what? I get Alabama's seemed like since September they weren't very good. They lost their game. They weren't very good against you. But since Jalen Milroe's found himself, I think they might be the best team in the country. And Michigan's record in big games, other than Ohio State the last 3 years, isn't very good.
By the way,
Jim Harbaugh.
If they didn't convert a 4th and goal from the 31-yard line, they wouldn't even be in this conversation. One play.
You can say that
they
about
would.
every team.
I'm just saying.
Force them
Okay, who do
31.
you like, Michigan or Alabama?
You know, is there 2 more unlikable teams right there? I know I'm not a big Alabama fan, and Michigan too. Can they both like lose or something? I guess we'll go with Michigan on that one, but that's going to be a game.
Now wait a minute.
I don't like Alabama.
You just sat here and said how great Alabama is and how they deserve to be in the college football
That's why
playoffs.
you don't
And
want
you're going to have them lose in the first round.
So they're playing against the best team in the country, as you should be able to.
Jeff, who do you like?
know already, right?
You're going to take Michigan as your big team.
No, I'm going to take Alabama.
Okay. How about
Even if I don't
Washington
believe it.
and Texas? This is a very interesting matchup. Who do you like in that one in Sugar Bowl?
I think Washington's a pretty good team, actually.
I love Texas. I love Texas to win it all.
I like the irony that they're both Big Ten SEC matchups because next year Washington's in the Big Ten and Texas in the SEC, and of course the other one is too. Yeah, I think Washington's kind of under the radar all season long. People kind of didn't respect them as a contender, and all they kept doing is winning. And the Pac-12
the conference is over. Like this, they're the last winner.
And it would actually one of the better years, the Pac-12, maybe the past quarter century or so, in terms of the depth and the top of that conference. So I think Washington might win it all.
I like Texas versus Alabama. And I like Alabama to win it all.
Oh,
just
come on,
as much
hook
as
'em
USC.
horns, baby. That's how you do it. I don't even know how they do it.
Alabama's playing well right now.
horns
They're,
down.
lucky.
Is that the
They're very
devil?
lucky with that
Horns
4th
down.
and 31,
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
I'm telling you, if
careful
that
what
doesn't happen, they're not even here. Meantime,
Washington.
you know, a lot of people have bought vehicles from Number One Cochran over the years. So now it's your turn to sell them a car. They actually do this, and it's super easy, hassle-free, and you get payment on the spot. The best part is Number One Cochran can pay more for used cars because they sell more used cars. So sell yours entirely online at Cochran.com or stop by any store. Remember this, Number One Cochran buys cars. All right, we're almost done here, but before we go, it's time to get a quick prediction because the Steelers play on a short week. You got New England coming into town. Not sure of the spread at this point, but who do you expect to win, Jeff, and why?
Steelers 2-1.
Okay, Mark?
Steelers 30-7.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
30.
Be careful of that, Wish. I thought they'd do that today, and they didn't. Go ahead.
Steelers 18-0.
18-0?
think
Oh,
the Steelers-
there we
field
go.
goals?
Everyone thinks the Steelers are
Well,
going to
possible
win.
this
You
one,
will find out coming in
Probably a
on
safety in
Thursday
there,
night.
something.
The Steelers and the Patriots, and then we'll find out a lot about what lies ahead with only 4 games or 3 games left after that. So have a good night, everyone. We'll see you next week.